The rationale for the debate as to whether there's a relationship between democracy and care and growth is really the following. If care and growth equals legitimate power, and democracy equals legitimate power, does care and growth therefore equal democracy? In a sense, the debate that you had seems to suggest that there's truth to both points of view. For instance, if you have a look at the whole democratic argument, what would have been apparent in the argument is that there has to be a sense of inclusion to what care and growth is trying to achieve. If we look at the difference between the Tony and the Fred interactions, for example, it is clear that the Fred interaction feels a lot more inclusive, and in that sense it's got a far more democratic feel about it. On the other hand, what would have also come out in the debate is that care and growth does not equal democracy. In fact, there's a very solid argument to be said that the big one can't care for and grow the little one if they're the same. A precondition for the big one to be able to care for and grow the little one is that the big one is big. Not even the relationship between the coach and the athlete do you have equality. So in a sense, there's truth to both points of view. For example, if you had a child of 9 months old who is beginning to walk and the child fell a few times and he hurt himself, and you went over and you took the child's hand, then clearly that taking of the child's hand would be an autocratic imposition of control. However, that autocratic imposition of control is in the interest of the child. It's not in your interest, you getting lumbago. However, if somebody came up to you and said, "You awful autocrat, you've got to democratically suspend control and stand as far away as you can and treat the child as an equal," and you did that, then the child's likely to fall and hurt himself. Which means to say that in terms of the intention to empower, the absolute and democratic suspension of control is in fact disabling. It's as disabling as it would be if you went to the child and you said to him, "You must always hold my hand, because then he'll never walk on his own either." In that sense, the absolute and autocratic imposition of control and the absolute and democratic suspension of control are really the same sentence, because they reduce the child to disablement. What neither of these extremes recognize is that growth is by its nature an incremental process. In other words, if you want to empower somebody, it doesn't mean that you entirely suspend control. You suspend control with an increment in order to allow an incremental step of growth. Our conclusion, therefore, is, which is therefore also our third axiom, that care and growth implies an incremental suspension of control in order to enable the subordinate.